What if Earth was not a planet at all, but a colossal spacecraft disguised as one? Picture this. You're standing in your backyard on a clear night, gazing up at the stars. The familiar constellations twinkle back at you: Orion, the Big Dipper, Cassiopeia. For a moment, you feel that profound sense of cosmic perspective that Carl Sagan used to talk about. You're standing on a rock, hurtling through space at 67,000 miles per hour around a burning ball of gas. But what if that feeling of movement isn't just metaphorical? What if the ground beneath your feet, the very planet you call home, isn't just passively orbiting the sun, but is actually piloted? I'm your host, and today we're diving into one of the most mind-bending theories ever proposed about our home planet. It's a concept that challenges everything we think we know about Earth's origins, its seemingly perfect conditions for life, and even the very nature of our existence. What if Earth isn't a planet that naturally evolved to support life, but rather a massive, ancient spacecraft generation ship designed to carry its passengers across the cosmos? What if we're not the indigenous inhabitants of this world, but the descendants of travelers from somewhere else entirely? Before you dismiss this as pure science fiction, consider this. In the past century, we've discovered that our galaxy alone contains over 100 billion stars, with potentially trillions of planets. We found evidence of water on Mars, organic compounds on comets, and even detected radio signals from deep space that we still can't explain. We've learned that life can survive in the most extreme conditions imaginable: boiling acid, in the vacuum of space, in pressures that would crush a submarine. So, really, in a universe this vast and mysterious, is the idea of Earth as a spacecraft really that impossible? Let me start with something that's always bothered astronomers, something we call the Goldilocks problem. Earth sits in what scientists refer to as the habitable zone, or the Goldilocks zone: not too hot, not too cold, but just right for liquid water to exist. Now, you might think, well, of course it island. If it weren't, we wouldn't be here to observe it. But here's where it gets interesting. The mathematical probability of a planet naturally occurring with Earth's exact specifications is so astronomically small that some scientists have calculated it as virtually impossible. Think about it. Earth's distance from the Sun varies by only about 3 million miles throughout the year, a tiny fraction in cosmic terms. If we were just 5% closer to the Sun, we'd be Venus, with surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead. If we were 5% farther away, we'd be a frozen wasteland like Mars. But it's not just our distance from the Sun. Earth's axial tilt is precisely 23.5 degrees, giving us our seasons. Too much tilt, and we'd have extreme climate variations that would make complex life impossible. Too little, and we'd have no seasons at all, potentially disrupting weather patterns that many species depend on. Our moon, which is unusually large compared to our planet, creates tides that may have been crucial for early life to transition from sea to land. Without it, or with a significantly smaller moon, life on Earth might never have made it out of the oceans. Dr. Michael Denton, a molecular biologist, once calculated that the probability of all these factors aligning by pure chance is roughly equivalent to winning the lottery every day for several billion years in a row. Now, most scientists explain this through what's called the anthropic principle. Essentially, we observe these perfect conditions because we exist. In other words, countless planets don't have these conditions, and on those planets, there's nobody around to notice. We're here because the conditions are right, not the other way around. But what if there's another explanation? What if these conditions aren't the result of cosmic lottery luck, but of cosmic engineering? The idea that Earth might be an artificial construct isn't entirely new. Indigenous cultures around the world have legends of sky gods, star people, and ancestors who came from the heavens. The Hopi speak of the blue star Kachina. The Dogon tribe of Mali had detailed knowledge of the star Sirius Ba, white dwarf star, invisible to the naked eye centuries before modern telescopes could detect it. In 1968, author Erich von Däniken popularized the ancient astronaut theory with his book, Chariots of the Gods. While many of his specific claims have been debunked, the core question remains compelling. Could our ancestors have been visited by or even descended from beings from other worlds? But here's where our story takes a different turn. Most ancient astronaut theories assume that visitors came to Earth. But what if Earth itself was the vehicle? The concept of a generation ship, a spacecraft, designed to support multiple generations during extremely long journeys between starships, been a staple of science fiction for decades. But it's also been seriously studied by scientists. In the 1,970 seconds, physicist Gerard K. O'Neill designed detailed plans for space colonies that could house millions of people. These O'Neill cylinders would rotate to create artificial gravity and would be entirely self-sustaining. Now, imagine scaling that concept up, way up, to planet size. Let me share some observations that, while they have conventional explanations, certainly make you scratch your head when you consider them through this lens. First, there's Earth's magnetic field. Our planet has an unusually strong and stable magnetic field that protects us from harmful cosmic radiation. Mars lost its magnetic field billions of years ago, and its atmosphere was stripped away as a result. Venus has virtually no magnetic field, but Earth's field has remained remarkably consistent. The conventional explanation is that Earth's magnetic field is generated by its liquid iron core acting like a massive dynamo. But here's what's strange. This dynamo should be gradually slowing down. The Earth's rotation is slowing due to tidal friction with the Moon, and the core should be cooling over time. Yet our magnetic field has remained surprisingly stable for billions of years. Then there's the mystery of Earth's internal heat. Our planet generates more heat than it should based on radioactive decay alone. The excess heat has puzzled geophysicists for years. Where is this extra energy coming from? Could there be an artificial power source at Earth's core? Consider also the unusual behavior of our moon. While it's not unique for a planet to have a moon, Earth's moon is exceptionally large relative to the planet. The leading theory for its formation that a Mars-sized object called Theia collided with early Earth requires an incredibly precise angle and speed of impact. Too direct, and both bodies would have been destroyed. Too glancing, and the debris wouldn't have coalesced into our moon. But here's something even stranger. Our moon's orbit is gradually spiraling away from Earth, but at exactly the rate needed to maintain relatively stable tides and climate conditions. It's as if the system was designed with long-term stability in mind. And then there's the fossil recorder, rather, what's missing from it. Charles Darwin himself was troubled by what paleontologists call the Cambrian explosion. About 540 million years ago, complex life forms appeared in the fossil record, seemingly overnight in geological terms. Before that, life on Earth was mostly simple, single-celled organisms for billions of years. Traditional evolution suggests gradual change over time, But the Cambrian explosion shows the sudden appearance of creatures with complex eyes, sophisticated nervous systems, and intricate body plans. It's as if someone flipped a switch and said, "Now it's time for complex life." What if that's exactly what happened? What if Earth's long journey through space finally reached a point where its passengers were ready to emerge from whatever protected environment they'd been living in? To really understand this theory, we need to think in terms of deep, the vast scales over which cosmic journeys would occur. Our solar system is roughly 4.6 billion years old. If Earth is indeed a spacecraft, its journey would have begun somewhere else in our galaxy. The nearest star to our Sun, Proxima Centauri, is about 4.3 light-years away. Even traveling at 1% of the speed of light, which would represent incredibly advanced technology, such a journey would take over 400 years. But what if the journey was much longer? What if Earth originated from a star cluster thousands of light-years away? Such a journey might take millions or even billions of years. This time frame actually makes the theory more plausible, not less. A civilization embarking on such a journey would need to build a self-sustaining vessel capable of supporting life for geological timescales. The vessel would need to be large enough to maintain a complex ecosystem, have its own weather systems, and be capable of producing everything its inhabitants might need. It would, in other words, need to be indistinguishable from a planet. Dr. Claudius Groh, a theoretical physicist at Goethe University, has proposed what he calls Genesis missions robotic spacecraft that would terraform planets over millions of years to make them suitable for life. But what if an advanced civilization took this concept further and simply built their own portable planet? Such a vessel might start its journey as an obviously artificial construct, but over millions of years of travel, it might naturally accumulate cosmic dust, debris, and even small asteroids. Its surface might develop through geological processes that, while artificial in origin, would appear entirely natural to its inhabitants. The passengers of such a vessel might go through cycles of technological advancement and regression over such vast timescales. Civilizations might rise and fall multiple times during the journey. Knowledge might be lost and rediscovered. The original purpose of the journey might be forgotten entirely. Now, I want to touch on something that's going to sound completely outlandish, but bear with me. For centuries, various cultures have proposed that Earth might be hollow, that there's a hidden world beneath our feet. The traditional hollow Earth theory has been thoroughly debunked. We know from seismic waves generated by earthquakes that Earth has a solid inner core, a liquid outer core, and various layers of rock and magma. But what if the reality is more nuanced? What if Earth has vast artificial caverns or structures deep within it? A completely hollow interior, but engineered spaces that serve specific purposes. In recent years, scientists have discovered that Earth's deep interior is far more complex than we previously thought. Seismic imaging has revealed massive structures in the lower mantle that don't behave like normal rock. There are regions where seismic waves travel at different speeds, suggesting materials with unusual properties. Some of these structures are continent-sized. They're stable over hundreds of millions of years, which is unusual for typical geological features. Could these be remnants of ancient technology? Support structures for a massive spacecraft? I'm not suggesting there are cities of mole people down there. But what if there are automated systems, power sources, or even dormant facilities that were part of Earth's original design as a generation ship? Consider this. If you were designing a generation ship to last billions of years, you'd want redundancy. You'd want backup systems buried deep where they'd be protected from surface catastrophes, cosmic radiation, and the actions of the ship's passengers who might not even know they were passengers. Earlier, I mentioned the unusual characteristics of our moon, but I want to dig deeper here because the moon might be the smoking gun in this entire theory. In 1969, when the Apollo 12 mission deliberately crashed their lunar module into the moon's surface, something unexpected happened. The moon rang like a bell for over an hour. The seismic reverberations suggested a hollow structure beneath the surface. Dr. Gordon MacDonald, a NASA scientist, said at the time, "It would appear that the moon is more like a hollow than a homogeneous sphere." His colleague, Dr. Sean Solomon, added, "The lunar orbiter experiments had vastly improved our knowledge of the moon's gravitational field and indicated the frightening possibility that the moon might be hollow." Now, the conventional explanation is that the moon's interior has a different structure than we expect perhaps, with a small core and a lot of fractured rock that allowed the vibrations to propagate unusually. But what if the moon really is partially hollow? What if it's not a natural satellite at all, but a constructed companion to Earth? Think about it. If Earth is a generation ship, it would make sense to have an accompanying vessel. The moon could serve as a construction platform, a backup facility, or even a monitoring station. Its gravitational influence on Earth could be carefully calibrated to maintain optimal conditions for the main ship's passengers. The moon always shows the same face to Earth, what astronomers call tidal locking. While this can occur naturally, it's a remarkable coincidence that this happened with such a large satellite at just the right distance to create stable tides and climate conditions. Russian scientists Alexander Sherbakov and Mikhail Vasin proposed in 1970 that the moon was an artificial satellite placed in Earth's orbit by an advanced civilization. They pointed out that the moon's orbit is nearly perfectly circular, which is unusual for captured objects, and that its composition is significantly different from Earth's. Despite the collision theory of its formation, here's where things get really interesting from a biological perspective. If Earth is indeed a spacecraft and humans are its passengers, we should see evidence in our biology that we're not originally from this environment. And remarkably, we do. Humans are uniquely vulnerable to many of Earth's conditions in ways that other species are not. We can't synthesize vitamin C, unlike most mammals. We are extremely sensitive to UV radiation from the sun we burn in just minutes without protection. Our spines aren't well adapted to upright walking on a planet with Earth's gravity, leading to back problems that plague our species. Dr. Ella Silver, an ecologist, has cataloged dozens of ways in which humans seem poorly adapted to Earth's environment compared to other species. He notes that humans have difficulty giving birth due to the size of babies' heads, we have poor adaptation to sunlight, and we have a strong aversion to raw foods that other omnivores don't share. Most tellingly, humans seem to suffer from a form of chronic homesickness that no other species displays. We're the only animals that regularly gaze at the stars with longing, that dream of exploring space, that feel a deep sense that we somehow don't quite belong here. What if that feeling isn't metaphorical? What if it's genetic memoria, deep, unconscious knowledge that we're travelers, that this beautiful blue world we call home is actually our vessel, carrying us towards some distant destination we've long since forgotten? Silver proposes that humans might be a hybrid species, the result of interbreeding between Earth's early hominids and visitors from another world. But what if it's simpler than that? What if our ancestors were the crew and passengers of this planetary spacecraft, and over millions of years, we've simply adapted to life on the surface while losing memory of our true origins. If Earth is indeed a spacecraft, it would need some form of navigation and communication system. And when you look at the distribution of ancient monuments around the world with fresh eyes, a pattern begins to emerge. The Great Pyramid of Giza isn't just aligned with cardinal direction, it's positioned at the exact center of Earth's landmass. Its base perimeter has the same ratio to its height as the circumference of Earth has to its radius. That's either an incredible coincidence or evidence of advanced mathematical knowledge about Earth's dimensions. Stonehenge, Angkor Wat, Machu Picchu, Easter Island, and dozens of other ancient sites are all positioned along specific geometric relationships to each other. These sites often demonstrate acoustic properties, astronomical alignments, and construction techniques that seem to exceed the supposed capabilities of their builders. What if these aren't just religious or ceremonial sites, but actually components of an ancient navigation or monitoring system? What if they're the visible portions of a planet-wide network designed to control and monitor the spacecraft's journey? The Nazca lines in Peru, which are only fully visible from the air, might not be messages to sky gods, but actual navigational markers visible to anyone monitoring Earth from space or from within the ship itself. The Aboriginal Australians speak of song lines, invisible pathways across the land that record the journey of ancestral spirits. These song lines connect sacred sites across thousands of miles and contain precise geographical information passed down through oral tradition for tens of thousands of years. What if these aren't just cultural stories, but actual maps of the spacecraft's internal navigation system? In our modern era, we continue to encounter phenomena that might make more sense if Earth were an engineered system rather than a natural one. The Huma low-frequency sound reported by people around the world has been detected in locations from Taos, New Mexico to Bristol, England. It's usually described as sounding like a distant diesel engine that never stops. Despite extensive investigation, scientists haven't been able to identify a source for most instances of the hum. What if it's the sound of Earth's propulsion system? A low-frequency vibration from massive engines or stabilizing systems operating deep within the planet? Then there are the underwater USO sightings, unidentified submerged objects. Military sonar operators have been tracking objects moving through the oceans at impossible speeds, making turns that would crush any known technology, and diving to depths that should destroy any material we know of. What if these aren't visitors from space, but rather Earth's own maintenance systems? Automated drones checking on the ship's systems, making repairs, or monitoring conditions. The increasing frequency of unusual seismic activity, unexplained light phenomena, and electromagnetic anomalies around the world might not be signs of natural changes, but indicators that Earth's long journey is approaching some kind of critical phase. What if we're approaching our destination? If Earth is indeed a spacecraft, where might it be going? This question opens up possibilities that are both thrilling and terrifying to consider. One possibility is that we're traveling toward a specific star system that was identified long ago as suitable for colonization. Perhaps the original plan was to use Earth as a transport vessel, and upon reaching the destination, the passengers would disembark and establish a new civilization on a more traditional planet. But what if the journey has taken longer than expected? What if the destination turned out to be unsuitable when we arrived? Our current trajectory through the galaxy might be taking us toward the Andromeda galaxy, though such a journey would take billions of years. Alternatively, what if Earth isn't heading toward a destination, but away from something? What if our planet is actually a refugee ship carrying the survivors of some cosmic catastrophe from our original home? The dark forest theory, proposed by science fiction writer Liu Cixin, suggests that civilizations in the universe remain hidden because revealing themselves invites destruction from more advanced species. What if Earth's disguise as a natural planet isn't just camouflage from cosmic debris, but camouflage from other intelligences we might encounter during our journey? Or here's a thought that really keeps me up at night. What if Earth's journey is cyclical? What if we're not travelers between stars, but something far stranger, a planet that travels through time as well as space, carrying life through cosmic cycles of creation and destruction? If Earth is a spacecraft, then someone or something must be piloting it. This raises the question that might be the most unsettling of all. Who's in control? The obvious answer might be that there's a hidden civilization perhaps living underground or undersea that maintains and directs Earth's journey. This group might be descendants of the original builders, or they might be an entirely different species that took control of the vessel at some point during its journey. But what if the control system is entirely automated? What if Earth is piloted by an artificial intelligence so advanced that it's indistinguishable from natural processes? Such an AI might have been programmed millions of years ago to maintain optimal conditions for life while navigating toward a distant destination. This AI might occasionally adjust Earth's systems, causing what we interpret as natural disasters or climate changes. It might even guide evolution itself, nudging life forms in directions that serve the ship's needs. Or here's a possibility that's even more mind-bending. What if we humanity are the control system? What if our technological development, our growing understanding of Earth's systems, and our increasing ability to influence our environment aren't just signs of progress, but signs that we're awakening to our true purpose? What if the scattered legends and dreams of space exploration that drive our species aren't fantasies, but genetic programming finally asserting itself? What if our current phase of rapid technological development is preparation for the final phase of our journey? Looking at our current era through this lens, several things start to make sense in a new way. The Fermi paradox, the apparent contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial life and our lack of contact with such civilizations, might not be a paradox at all. If we're traveling through space disguised as a natural planet, we might simply be in the empty spaces between civilizations. Our increasing obsession with space exploration, the recent discovery of potentially habitable exoplanets, and our rapid development of technologies needed for interplanetary travel might all be signs that we're approaching the end of our journey. Climate change, rather than being purely the result of human activity, might be a sign that Earth's systems are shifting in preparation for arrival at our destination. The ice caps melting might be the ship's way of preparing for a different type of orbit around a different kind of star. The recent increase in UFO sightings and the government's acknowledgement of unexplained aerial phenomena might not be evidence of visitors from other worlds, but of Earth's own systems becoming more active as we near journey's end. Even our growing awareness of the possibility that we're living in a simulation or an artificially constructed reality might be our unconscious minds beginning to recognize the truth about our situation. I have to admit, researching this topic has profoundly changed how I look at the world around me. Every sunrise seems like it might be the view from the observation deck of a cosmic vessel. Every earthquake might be the ship adjusting its course. Every strange weather pattern might be the result of systems we don't understand, maintaining conditions we take for granted. But you know what? If this theory is true, it doesn't make our lives any less meaningful. If anything, It makes them more remarkable. We're not just random animals on a random rock floating in space. We're passengers on the greatest journey ever undertaken, descendants of beings bold enough to build a world and set it sailing between the stars. Every generation that has lived and died on Earth has been part of this incredible voyage. Every human achievement, every work of art, every act of love and kindness has happened aboard this vessel, carrying us toward whatever destiny awaits. And if we're approaching the end of our journey, then we might be the generation that finally learns the truth about who we are and where we came from. We might be the ones who complete a voyage that began millions of years ago. Or maybe we're not approaching the end at all. Maybe we're just in the middle of an even longer journey, and our current technological development is preparing us to take conscious control of our vessel for the next phase of our voyage. Of course, this theory raises more questions than it answers, and I'll be the first to admit that it's highly speculative. The conventional explanations for Earth's characteristics formed through natural processes over billions of years are supported by vast amounts of evidence and have served us well in understanding our world. But that doesn't mean we should stop asking the big questions. That doesn't mean we should stop wondering about the mysteries that remain unexplained. Why does Earth have such perfect conditions for life? Why do humans seem so uniquely adapted for space exploration and so poorly adapted for some aspects of Earth life? Why are ancient monuments positioned with such precision? Why do we feel such a deep longing to explore the stars? Maybe these questions have conventional answers. Maybe the theory I've presented today is nothing more than an interesting thought experiment. But just maybe there's more to our beautiful blue world than meets the eye. Maybe we're not just living on Earth. Maybe we're traveling aboard it. If Earth really is a spacecraft, then our growing technological capabilities might be preparing us for the next phase of our existence. Our development of satellite technology, space stations, and planetary exploration might be practice for whatever comes next. The increasing frequency of extreme weather, geological activity, and unexplained phenomena might be signs that our long journey is entering a new phase. Maybe we're approaching our destination. Maybe we're preparing to make contact with other intelligences, or maybe we're getting ready to continue our journey in a more conscious way. The question is, are we ready? As passengers on this cosmic vessel, we've been remarkably irresponsible caretakers. We've polluted our ship's atmosphere, depleted its resources, and driven many of our fellow passengers to extinction. If we're truly aboard a spacecraft, then learning to live sustainably isn't just about environmentalist myths, about basic ship maintenance. But we've also shown remarkable creativity, compassion, and curiosity. We've created art that captures the beauty of our vessel. We've developed technologies that might help us understand and maintain our ship systems. We've begun to recognize that we're all passengers together on this cosmic journey. Maybe that's what growing up as a species means, recognizing that we're not just inhabitants of Earth, but crew members aboard Spaceship Earth, responsible for its care and conscious participants in its journey. Whether Earth is a natural planet or an artificial spacecraft, one thing remains true. We're part of something absolutely extraordinary. We exist in a universe of unimaginable complexity and beauty, on a world that seems almost impossibly suited for life. The theory I've shared with you today might sound far-fetched, but it represents something important: our willingness to question assumptions, to think beyond conventional explanations, and to maintain a sense of wonder about our place in the cosmos. Maybe Earth is exactly what it appears to be, a natural planet formed by cosmic accident and sculpted by natural forces over billions of years. If so, that's miraculous enough. The idea that random processes could create such a perfect home for life is perhaps even more remarkable than the idea that it was designed. But if Earth is something more, if it's humanity's greatest achievement, an ark carrying us between the stars, then we're part of the most incredible journey ever undertaken. We're not just witnesses to the universe, we're explorers sailing through it on a vessel built by our own ancestors. Either way, we're living in the middle of an amazing story. And the best part is, we don't know how it ends yet. As I finish recording this episode, I'm looking out my window at the night sky. The stars are brilliant tonight, and for just a moment, I can almost feel the motion, not just Earth's rotation, but something deeper. The sense that we're all traveling together through the cosmic dark, aboard this beautiful blue vessel we call home. Whether we're passengers or natives, whether we're approaching our destination or just beginning our journey, one thing is certain: we're all in this together, sharing this remarkable ride through space and time. So, what do you think? Is Earth just a planet? Or could it be something more? Are we Earthlings? Or are we cosmic travelers who've simply forgotten our true nature? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do any of these anomalies and coincidences make you wonder about the true nature of our world? Have you experienced anything that made you question whether there might be more to Earth than meets the eye? And if this episode has sparked your curiosity about the mysteries that surround us, make sure to subscribe to Javis Heist for more deep dives into the unexplained. We explore the stories that make you question everything you thought you knew about reality, from ancient mysteries to modern anomalies, from historical enigmas to scientific puzzles that still baffle researchers today. Hit that notification bell so you'll be the first to know when we release new episodes, and share this with anyone who loves a good mystery. Together, we'll keep exploring the strange, the wonderful, and the unexplained. Until next time, keep looking up at the stars, and remember, you might not just be looking at destinations. You might be looking at where we came from.